I've been in situations where there's a lot of wrestling for power, and it's not necessary. It's like hard enough to make a movie, and then you need to be surrounded by people who are going to lift you up and lift your vision up.
So I'm going to ask you some questions. They can be really personal, and all you have to do is answer either never, rarely, sometimes, or always. It's kind of like multiple choice, but it's not a test.
Okay.
Okay?
So your film, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, chronicles a young woman's journey to getting an abortion. Why was this a story you wanted to tell?
As a filmmaker, the films that I had seen about abortion and that dealt with the representation of abortion on screen had all been told through male point of view and male lenses. And I really wanted to reclaim that narrative. And I think there's a lot of films that exist in the world that explore how hard it is to get an illegal abortion in like 1970. And I wanted to sort of show audiences, that actually it's really hard to get a legal abortion even in 2021.
And you wrote and directed this film. You mentioned being a woman in that position. Mm-hmm. What are some of the unique things you were able to bring to this project because you're a woman?
Mm-hmm. I think, I was able to bring a lack of judgment to the film and this sort of structural barriers that people encounter through almost just like everyday experiences.
The intake scene, it's such a powerful still scene. So take me through the conversations you guys had around shooting that.
Well, I shot it in a real Planned Parenthood in Manhattan. And that level of authenticity was really important to me. And I went through a really long process of gaining trust from Planned Parenthood and being allowed to have access to the facility, to tour it, to talk to social workers, to meet with doctors, to meet with nurses, and to just walk through the experience from the point of view of the character. From a performance standpoint, Sydney was able to do the scene in a long take, which was always the goal. And there were two cameras on her, like one was here and one was here, and she was quite trapped and brought a level of vulnerability to the scene that was almost, that almost none of us were expecting.
Yeah. I think wherever you stand on the issue, you can see that this choice for a woman carries a lot with it. Was certainly the takeaway, but it is a controversial topic. So what has some of the feedback been like for you?
It's divisive. I didn't expect it would be an easy movie to make. I didn't expect it would be an easy movie to finance. I didn't expect it would be an easy movie to find an audience. The critical response has been overwhelming and positive. And then, there's a lot of people who won't watch it, who protest it, who think it's like propaganda for Planned Parenthood, which was funny because I was so worried that Planned Parenthood wouldn't even like the movie.
Yeah, I read that an Academy voter said that he wouldn't watch it.
Yeah, I wonder how many Academy voters refused to watch it for political reasons because it doesn't align with their ideology. I'm sure there's more voters like that who, and it's sad to me because if you won't watch a movie about abortion, then, will you watch a movie about homosexuality? Probably not. Will you watch a movie about Black Lives Matter? Probably not.
Right.
And these are the people that are holding back progress.
And you started out directing in theater.
Uh-huh.
So what was that jump like then from directing theater to directing your own feature films?
I learned a lot directing theater. I learned how to block, how to work with actors. But I was directing theater like in the early 2000s and there was no path forward. There just there wasn't any female mentorship. There weren't working female directors. So I felt really sad, like and I felt like I would make these little productions and they were like sandcastles that would just get washed away when they were done.
And this is your third feature film, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you do differently this time around?
My first feature, It Felt Like Love, was a micro budget narrative that I shot for like under $30,000. So I've never had a certain kind of support and I've never had to ask for permission either. So it was an empowering experience to make a movie with that little resources and a skeleton crew, and to be able to find my voice.
What advice do you give young directors, and specifically young female directors, getting into this space and overcoming the obstacles that they're going to encounter?
I think it's all about community. Like while you're starting out, you need to find a group of collaborators who respect what you're doing. Because I've been on those sets where some male DP has like unfulfilled dreams of being a director. Everybody's eyeing the director chair. Nobody tells you that when you're starting out, that likely a lot of other people standing around on that crew had that dream. And you need to make sure that you're surrounded by people who are there to collaborate and in a meaningful and genuine way, and not try and push or bully or intimidate you into doing things their way.
Do you think that's an extra pressure on female directors, having other people feel like they can add in and say things that aren't asked for?
Absolutely. And especially if you're short like me. Like I'm a 5'1"-ish, petite person. And I've been in situations where there's a lot of wrestling for power, and it's not necessary. It's like hard enough to make a movie, and then you need to be surrounded by people who are going to lift you up and lift your vision up.
And there's been a lot of conversation about female filmmakers. This year at the Oscars, we see that there are 2 women nominated for the Best Director award, which is huge. Does that make you hopeful about the path forward for women in this industry?
It does. I think it's like a huge step forward, and I hope it's not just because it's an unconventional year.
Do you feel like some of it is a flash in the pan? Or do you see the work as you're out working that there is more parity on sets, or we're seeing these things actually in practice?
I guess I feel like I see it, but then when you look at the numbers, then you're like, wait, is it getting better? It's hard to tell. But I'm, in an independent community largely, and have a lot of female friends who are filmmakers. So from my perspective, there's a lot of women out there making work. I don't know if the industry is interested in that work.